They've got some magic that they tap into, technomancy, which isn't actually a true magic per se. It's they funnel life energy that they steal on the battlefield into technological devices, either in other models or off-board, that kind of is manifested by spectacular effects that other armies just don't really get the option to do. These are the first people that have one of their spells, I guess two of their spells, act very similar to almost like off-board artillery. Because they've got anti-grav sleds that run around. I mean, they don't have them in the game, right. But they've in the narrative they've got these sleds flying around that have guns on them, and so they the priests funnel the technomantic energy into these skiffs, and the skiffs then fire onto the opponents. And it's they will be. I think that they're going to have a pretty decent learning curve, because they are tough to begin with, but they're going to become much better as people start figuring out, which this particular unit is exceptionally good if I manage to cast this spell on them. But for me to cast this spell on them, I've got to make sure my War Priest is up close enough to do it. It's going to be a lot of A plus B to really come down. The initial forces that people are going to see, excuse me. Your army has to be led by a war captain or a war priest, and I think initially you're going to see a lot more war priests, just until people start getting used to the feel of the spells.
Gotcha.
There are other spellcasting units in the game, but that's because it fills two roles. It fills a spellcasting unit, and it also fills the leadership requirement of the army. I think you're going to see a lot of war priests to start out.
Okay. And then, how long did the design process take for these guys?
Well, the actual concept arts for most of everything was started months ago. Actually, probably closer to a year ago. I had seen the first of the Kukulkani art before we got finished with Devastation.
Okay.
They were sitting around waiting for us to work with. When we actually sat down to do the rules and the fluff and mesh them into the game and make it happen and started playtesting, that was probably about 6 months ago.
Okay.
They got a lot of our attention because of the impending date of the Mayan apocalypse. Obviously, we wanted it to be a big surprise, and as time started drawing near, the jokes began that if we don't get it out by the apocalypse, no one will ever see it.
Right.
But I'd probably say from start to finish, but barring the concepts and the initial just kind of chatter, when we actually sat down for brass tacks, it was probably about 6 months or so.
Okay. And then, how about the minis themselves? How long does that process usually take?
It's ongoing. I would say we're revolutionizing our process currently. Did I just make up a word? Revolutionizing? I think I did.
No. Well, I think
maybe. All right, it is now. So we're really looking at streamlining things down and making sure that we don't try and slam one sculptor with 50 figures. We've got currently, at least I know, 4 sculptors that are working on the line. When we started making greens for the warriors and the war priest and the honored dead, I want to say that was maybe a month ago. From green to casting shouldn't take longer than maybe 4 weeks.
Okay.
And that's if you've got the right kind of focus and everything goes well in the post and whatnot. Because obviously all of the sculptors and the casters and the master makers, they're all in various places in the world. So we have to also kind of suffer if something happens with postal services and things like that.
Okay. And what are all the different roles that you've kind of had on this project?
In this one, when we started to when I started seeing the actual concept art and realized that I was going to be creating this faction, myself and the fellow lead design, Mike Chanel, Mr. Black on our forums, he came up with the tweak to the rules that I had put together, and we kind of worked hand in hand to make sure the rules were as they should be and not over the top, or in the case of 1 or 2 of the units, useless. One of the units really just we kept coming back to and going, we've got to make these guys better. They do nothing, and now they're much better. And I'm not going to say who they are because then people will make fun of them.
Okay.
But the fiction was mostly written by a couple of other guys. But the direction of the fiction was mine. The actual history and things, I came up with that and how to put it together with the story. It's my role with the Kukulkani was to make them actually part of the game and part of the narrative, rather than just sort of a tongue-in-cheek, hey, here's some Mayans because the Mayan apocalypse is here. We wanted to make them actually part of the world, and as people start to, if they start taking off and people really like this faction and they end up being a good seller, and I really think they will, we'll probably see more out of the Kukulkani, even storyline wise. They're not just going to be, here they are, everyone look at how cool these flying serpents are. Did I just say flying serpent? I did, because there's a flying serpent in them. It's on the cover.
Yeah.
You
see that?
There's a picture of him too, the Koala.
Yeah. Right.
But the other thing is that one of the things that Dark Age does is that a lot of our factions have sub-factions within them, and the Kukulkani, although they are definitely a single entity, there's nothing that says that there couldn't be another Coatl faction,
right,
with slightly different themes, or there are serpentine gods in lots of different mythos.
Right.
I would love to have some kind of like Midgard serpent style, because there may be other races out there on Earth when the Coatl came to the planet. Maybe another reptilian god somewhere said, I like you guys. You're going to kill your friends for me. And, we always could move forward that way, especially depending on how the story goes with other new releases that are coming in 2013, which we tease at the end of the Kukulkani book, which you can totally show.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to show you guys here, this massive guy here, Kukulkani. Talk to us about this guy.
The Kukulkani is... narratively, it's basically a hub of technomantic energy, like a walking battery. Because as the Kukulkani wander the world, and they take all this energy to fill the gas tanks, it's got to go somewhere, and it obviously can't travel thousands of miles.
Right.
So it goes into the Kukulkani, and then the Kukulkani eventually, when it comes back to the ziggurat, back to the warship, it plugs itself in and discharges its juice, like a Ghostbuster trap. They bring it back to the home base. The model itself, as far as on the battlefield, it is a beast. This thing will walk across this battlefield and pretty much not care about what's going on, especially if your opponent is not paying attention to what you're doing with it. It has a special rule called Ritual Engine that allows it to upgrade itself in the middle of a game if it picks up the fallen crystal skulls of another unit that you can field called the Honored Dead. It picks up these little skull batteries and plugs it in, and for every one that you get these bonuses, and it just makes your Kukulkani better. And once you get to all three skulls, when all three sockets are filled, your opponent has probably already decided he's lost.
Yeah.
At that point, if as soon as he picks up that third skull, your opponent's probably like, all right, what do I got to do? I need to run from that thing, because it is a mean machine, and it's likely going to be one of the largest, easily the largest model in the Kukulkani, but probably in the top 5 largest scale models that we've done in Dark Age.
Okay. And then for those who might be interested, is it going to be like a metal miniature? Is it going to be resin? Maybe a hybrid?
Probably, more than likely, probably all resin. Although I would say a hybrid is likely for some of the add-on bits. If anybody who's taken a look at our Abomination or our Toxic Abomination, there are some metal bits involved, but it's a predominantly resin model.
And as you were saying earlier, before we started, he's going to probably come with 3 or 4 stat cards?
He's going to come with all 4 stat cards.
Okay.
He's going to come with the Kukulkani Prime, which no skulls, and then 1 skull, 2 skull, and 3 skulls. Because although the Ritual Engine ability tells you exactly what is happening to the model, this is... It'll be way easier just to say, okay, this is my stats. And as long as you're using wound counters right and stuff, it's not going to mess up the math.
Okay.